Every now and then you meet someone who speaks so well, he not only captivates you, but captivates the people around you. Now that is something that one can make money of. And that's precisely the man I'm meeting today. His name is Shankar Santhiram. He is the founder of EQ Training and Development. And he is also one of the speakers at the recent BFM Enterprise Breakaway. My name is Syed Fardino Omar, and you are watching, and I hope I'm captivating you here, you are watching in person. Now, you can hear thunder and lightning happening around me. The gods must be as excited as I am to be talking to this man over here because, the first time I met him, he was just captivating. Sometimes you have important things to say, but it's not just about that. It's also about the way you said it. So I'm very happy to be able to share today's episode with Shankar Santhiram. Shankar, thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome to my house.
Thank you. You know what? I suggest we better find cover before it starts pouring down on us. But yes, you see, the first time I met Shankar, it was at the recent BFM Enterprise Breakaway. And yes, he did have very important things to say, but it wasn't just about what he said, but it was also about the way he said it. Now, the thing that I remember the most about what you said were two things. You said that, to be successful in business, you needed passion and determination.
Was that the way I said it?
It was.
The intonation was exactly that.
It was that, that clenched N that stuck to me. And he's actually made a living, a business out of this. You captivate people when you talk, and you share experiences, and you empower and enrich their careers as well as their lives, and that's what you do in your business at EQ.
Yeah.
Would you say that is a skill or is it a gift?
When I was young, I used to watch a lot of television, as I do even now. I spend a lot of my time watching TV. And one of the TV programs I used to enjoy in the mid to late 80s was LA Law.
Right.
Many people my age group, the 40-something crowd, will remember LA Law.
Mm-hmm.
I used to watch this and I used to think, that's what I want to become. I want to become a lawyer. And so when I was growing up, it was all about becoming a lawyer. And my father, I think when he was young, my father was a university professor. Mm-hmm. When he was young, I think his aim was also to become a lawyer. Mm-hmm. But because they came from a fairly poor family, they couldn't afford to send going to study law at law school as an expensive.
I think that's your father having an opinion there.
My father saying, to stop talking about me, son, as usual. But anyway, my parents were excited. Yeah, excellent, because I think I spoke a lot when I was a kid. I had a lot of things to say. That's what my mom and dad say. Mm-hmm. And I had opinions about everything. So I went off and studied law in England, and halfway through my law course I decided this course has got it's got absolutely nothing to do with the glamour of
that you saw in
LA Law. It had nothing to do with LA Law at all. It was just horrendously boring being a lawyer. So I wanted to do something else with my life. And I came back home to Malaysia in 1993 after my law degree. And I was grappling around with what I should do. And just before I came back to Malaysia, I was talking to an old family friend of ours who lived in England. And he gave me very good advice. He said, if you want to be successful in life, find what you like. Find what you think you're good at. Mm-hmm. Focus on that and do it. Mm-hmm. That's what he told me. When I came back, I was grappling around going, what do I really like? And I realized I like the sound of my own voice. I like the sound of my own voice.
At the risk of being the ultimate narcissist on in person. But yes, carry on with this wonderful story. I like where this is going.
But that's how it was. I came back and I thought to myself, okay, I don't want to practice law. What is it that inspired me? And throughout school, I'm from Penang originally, and I went to the Penang Free School, like someone else.
Which is the best school in the world.
Like someone else I know on this table.
Yes.
So if you go to Penang Free School and you see the list of the winners of the Cheeseman Elocution Competition, I was the winner in 1988. Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of elocution, a lot of speaking in public. I did those types of things. So I grew up experimenting with that. And I enjoyed it. You know, you enjoy the adoration, you enjoy the clapping, you enjoy your friends coming and saying, hey, you spoke really well and that. So when I came back to Malaysia in 93, I was grappling around with what I wanted to do. I didn't really want to practice law, much to the annoyance of my parents. I didn't want to practice. And I thought the closest thing I could do to earn a living was to teach. So I went and started teaching law in a private college in Penang. That lasted for about a year, and then I joined another institution and became, head of department. In the early 90s, private colleges of higher learning were all new in Malaysia.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was like this mushrooming of colleges. They didn't have enough teachers, qualified teachers. Today, you need to have a master's degree or a PhD to be employed in a good, reputable institution.
Right.
In 1993, you didn't. They took 23-year-olds like me, 22-year-olds, and said, fine, teach, because they had no students. And I really honed that skill of being in front of a class and teaching. And I never practiced law at all. I just went straight into teaching law to start off with, A-level subjects. And then I got involved in administrating and managing institutions of higher learning. That's what I did. The gods are just not helping today, are they? They're not helping.
No, yeah. And technology isn't as well.
That's my neighbor's car. Fantastic.
We do apologize, but Shankar is such a busy man that this is pretty much the only time I can catch him between running training courses and flying off to foreign places for holidays and also for business ventures.
Work.
No, for work. For work also.
We say work.
We say work.
We say work. It's all about work usually.
Right.
Where were we?
You were saying that 23-year-old.
This is what happens when you end up talking so much. You can't remember what you're saying half the time. So yes, I got involved in private education, and I stayed on in private education for a long time. I was in Penang for a few years. Then I moved to Malacca, and I moved from teaching alone to becoming an administrator. I eventually became the CEO of an institution in Malacca. That institution, we went into partnership with the Otago Polytechnic in New Zealand, and we ran a lot of information technology courses. Since 1993, I got involved in private education. Finally, ending up in 2003, when I left private education, I was the CEO of a college in Malacca.
In Malacca.
Let me tell you more about this college in Malacca, but should we go inside? Should we go inside and get away from this racket?
This is the first time I'm not the one ending the segment. My guest is ending the segment on my behalf, but I am going to agree with him because it is getting, as you can hear, very loud out here. So we're going to take it inside, so stay with us on In Person. Come, let's go.
Tap tap do 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 do, tap do 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 do, oh oh. Tap tap do 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 do, tap do 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 do, oh 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 oh. Tap tap do 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 do, tap do 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 do, oh oh.
Ia internet gentian dan wireless, panggilan percuma, hiburan tidak terhingga dan banyak lagi. Semuanya untuk kediaman anda. Ucapkan selamat datang kepada cara hidup baharu dengan Maxis Home.
Setiap Isnin hingga Sabtu, Gala TV membawakan anda secara langsung 4.30 petang, 10.30 malam. Gala TV, buletin hiburan tempatan dan antarabangsa, memaparkan perkembangan muzik, filem, teater, fashion, temu bual eksklusif. Gala TV, Isnin hingga Sabtu, 4.30 petang, 10.30 malam di Astro Awani. Berita segenap dimensi.
Immediately it's quieter. We've moved indoors, we've shut all the doors. So now in this space, the camera crew, you'll find the camera crew, you'll find me, you'll find Shankar, and also you'll find all the animals in the back there, all the cats, because this is not only Shankar's home, it's very beautiful, but it's also his office, as well as the practice of Shankar's wife Susie, who's let me say this properly. She's not just a vet, no, is she?
She is a vet, but over and above being a vet, she's also the only certified animal acupuncturist in Malaysia.
She's an animal acupuncturist, which is precisely why you can find lots of animals. This is, my kind of place. Now, let's pick up from where we left off outside Malacca.
That's right. So I got into private education, and I was the CEO of this college, and I spent a lot of time with students. And I realized that the most fulfilling thing for me was to help these young people unlock their potential.
Yeah.
And we had 18, 19, 20-year-olds who otherwise couldn't get into public universities or didn't have the financial resources to go into the big institutions. They came to my institution and we inspired them. We got work for them. They did 1 year, 2 1-year certificate courses, or 2-year diploma courses, or 3-year advanced diploma courses. And we worked with local industries in and around Malaysia, in Malacca specifically, in the south of Malaysia, but also in Kuala Lumpur. We placed them at various places. We got decent jobs for them, and I found that that was my calling in life. I found that actually placing these students in these places of work and giving them hope. I used to get little notes from parents, little cards from uncles and aunties who said, "Thank you very much. This kid was, my nephew was not doing much, but now after he's come to you or come to your institution, he's been inspired. Not only has he got a decent job, but he can also look after his aged parents, for example." These are the types of things that took place, and I found that this gave me so much more fulfillment in life. This is how I got into this whole the training business as such, because whilst I was doing this in the institution of higher learning in the college, we also got lots of requests from the companies and industries where we were placing these students.
Right.
They said, "Hey, your boys and girls, your kids, such, they're far more motivated than the other students." How's that? So I sat back and thought, well, it's because not only do we provide them education, the educational background, but we also give them all the motivational stuff. We teach them how to attend interviews. We talk to them about increasing their emotional quotient, as such, their emotional intelligence. And they said, "Hey, why don't you come and do some courses for my staff here? Come in and run a short course on emotional intelligence." In those days, people always said, "Can you come and run a motivational course?" People always called me a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
Which at that time
I'm
seemed
sure you
like
still get it now.
I get it once in a while now. But it's kind of rudimentary when you say that I'm a motivational speaker, because that by definition means you kind of rile people up, you get them all wound up for a bit, you rah-rah them, and then you let them go, and then things go back to normal. That's what happens. I think I'm a bit more than just a motivational speaker. I did more than just motivating them. What I did was I helped them connect with themselves, and this is good. So these companies where my students were being placed, the CEOs and the directors were all very happy with the results that we were giving to their staff as well. And like a little, you have these little light bulb moments in your life. I've had a few bad light bulb moments as well. I've started off businesses which have not worked. So
we'll talk about that in a bit. But
terrible hiccups. When I first started, the first private institution of higher learning was in Penang, my hometown. I stayed there, but I did the huge mistake of going into partnership with family members. Didn't work out. Very naive. If you ask me whether I would do it again, I probably would, because I did it because that is the only thing I could do at the time. But if I knew then what I know now, I'd be a lot more cautious. I wouldn't be so trusting. I wouldn't immediately invite people. And also, I had no money. That was my major problem when I started my first business, which was the institution. I had no money. So you begged, you borrowed, you kind of, fell at people's feet, and you were very much at their mercy. As I got older, I realized how to secure funds for businesses and how to do it properly. So that was a big mistake. It didn't last. My second venture was the next college in Malacca. Worked out very well, whilst it was successful. When it was not so successful, it's very difficult again. So I also learned, and all this I learned at a young age. I was 23, I was 25, and then I got excited. I like, one of my passions is cooking. So I spent a lot of time cooking, as you can see. I like eating as well. And when in Malacca, I also opened a restaurant, which made a whole load of money the first 3 months it was open. And then it nearly bankrupted me for the next 2 years after that, because...
But what I'm getting from here is that you're not scared. From a lawyer to education to training to cooking, and I also know that you very publicly mentioned once before in an article which was published, you said you like manicures and pedicures, which is something not a lot of men would admit to openly.
A fun afternoon for me is to go to my favorite nail studio in Bangsa and give. I have Dr. Mary who looks after my feet.
Dr. Mary,
I call her Dr. Mary. She looks after my hands and my feet, my nails. Yes, I also ended up doing a business in India. For example, I ventured out into India, which is real uncharted territory. And I was well, for me it was uncharted territory, and also in the mid, in 2006, 2007, that's the time India was opening up and people from Malaysia were going out. And for 3 years I did that, very successful. I had ups and downs. It gave me a great learning experience. And I think I'm 40 now, and the last 20 years have been one wild ride of ups and downs. And that is why I've reached a point now, I think I can go into a training program and I could really tell my participants, hey, this is what life is about.
Yeah.
These are the things that
lived it.
These are the things that happen to you. And this is how you become successful in spite of the conditions.
Right, okay.
And that's something that always stuck with me. A long time ago, I heard an interview by Viktor Frankl, who wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning. And he said that being successful is not, you don't become successful because of your conditions alone. You must become successful in spite of your conditions.
In spite of the condition. That's
in spite of your conditions. And that's essentially what I think I'm trying to live. The life I'm trying to live is that, in spite of all the things that, I don't come from a very wealthy family. I come from a middle class family. My father's a university teacher, my mother was a school teacher. So there was nothing that we wanted, but it was not a lavish lifestyle. We didn't have great holidays. It wasn't everybody could fly. We couldn't go anywhere at the time, Coming to Kuala Lumpur was the biggest highlight of my childhood.
Yeah.
That was the biggest holiday I ever had. And going to Kentucky Fried Chicken at the time was a major deal.
It was luxury. I completely understand.
You know what I'm talking about. Coming from Penang, there was none of these fast food joints in Penang. We had to come to Kuala Lumpur for this before.
Yes. Well, we have to go for another short break right now. But when we come back, I want to ask, some of the things you mentioned earlier were simply quite amazing. How you talk to people emotionally and stuff like that. So we want to understand how you do it and why you do it, and what's the kick in it. All right, so stay with us on In Person. We'll have more questions for Shankar.
Tap tap do 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 do, tap do 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 do, oh. Tap tap do 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 do, tap do 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 do, oh 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 oh.
Ia internet gentian dan wireless, panggilan percuma, hiburan tidak terhingga dan banyak lagi. Semuanya untuk kediaman anda. Ucapkan selamat datang kepada cara hidup baharu dengan Maxis Home.
Friday. Technology plays an integral role in every aspect of our lives. At Gadget Nation, we embrace technology, gadgets and video games. Join me, Adam Carruthers, and the master gamer Avery Score on our expedition in the world of technology. Find us on Facebook and Twitter and share your thoughts about the show. Gadget Nation Season 4 every Friday at 9:30 p.m. exclusively on Astro Awani.
So we were talking about wild ups and downs in Shankar's life in the last segment. So we're gonna basically continue with the wonderful story of your life. Amazing things has happened over the last 20 years, like you already put. So but one of the things that actually called out to me was when you said that you talk to the students emotionally as well, and there are things that you do that enriches and empowers them emotionally, and it prepares them when they go to the working world. So how do you do it?
The most important thing, I think, is when someone goes to work, the first thing they need to understand is, what do they go to work for? Many people actually think that 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock is basically an interruption to their normal life.
Do they?
Interrupt their normal life, go to work, finish at 5 and resume their normal life after that. And that's not the way you need to lead life, and people talk about this work-life balance. You need a work-life balance when work and life are very separate. But for people who are really successful at what they do, the lines between work and life are blurred in some ways.
Hence.
So you work at home and, you go... To answer your question, how do you get people... What is this emotional intelligence? That's essentially what we're focusing on. My work is all about emotional intelligence. It is about getting people to connect with their jobs on a day-to-day basis, making people understand what their own personal goals are in life. And once you know what your own personal goals are in life, you are able to then connect or align your personal goals with your organization's goals. See, if I was the CEO of a company, I know that simply telling my staff, hey, you work for the best company in the world and you should work much better, and why are you all not working so hard? What is the problem with you? Those kinds of things don't work anymore because we live in a different world altogether. Whereas if I went to my team and I said, Dino, what makes you happy? What is it that you want in your life? And I get you to explore that. And you say, okay, Shankar, what makes me happy is A, B, C, and D. I get you to connect with that. Right? And the moment you are connected with that, I then say, how are you going to get there as a wage earner, for example? The only way you're going to get there as a wage earner is when you can actually align your personal goals with your organization's goals, which means being at XYZ company, being with EQ Training and Development, or being with Astro Awani, or whichever organization you work for, that organization becomes a vehicle for me to explore my own potential.
Right, okay. I get it. Clear picture.
And that's the connection we're trying to make. And that is the connection that's always missing in most organizations. People come to work, I only work here. Don't ask me any questions. That's the kind of attitude that people have. So that's our training. That's what I focus on, and that's what I do. And I do this slightly differently than other, and I use my own personal example, actually. If you ask me why I do what I do, I do it for one reason only. It's going to sound really weird.
Go on, try us.
I do it for Manchester United.
Oh my God, why? Why?
It's really odd, isn't it? So if someone asks me that, I'll say I do it for Manchester United. People go what? What are you talking about? What has that got to do with your work? A long time ago, someone taught me this. Focus on what gets you excited. And I sat and asked myself, what gets me excited? Traveling gets me excited. I love traveling. I spend a lot of my energy trying to find money so I can see the world. That's what I do. And the other thing that excites me, I was watching television one evening, watching Manchester United play whatever team, and I found myself jumping up and down, screaming and shouting at the television screen, which is what most ardent, die-hard football fans of, whether you're a United fan or a Liverpool fan, or whether you are a Chelsea fan or whatever team that you support, You find the passion. Online fights, people get upset when Manchester United play Liverpool's huge fight going on. I mean, we are people who live 10,000 kilometers away from, and I found that this is a passion. And this person I was talking to asked me, hey, have you been to Old Trafford? And I'd been in England, I'd studied, I went to university there, but I was a poor student, I didn't have money to go up to Manchester. I went to Sussex University in Brighton. I didn't have money to travel up to Manchester at the time to go to watch United games. So in my 6 years of living in England, I'd never seen a Manchester United game. And I was, shame on me at the time. When I came here, this guy, this person, this wise old person was talking to me and he said, why don't you equate, what do you, he said, what makes you successful? Blah, 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 I was talking about it. Finally he said, what is your passion? And after a while I said, Manchester United, I love watching United play. Right? And he said, have you seen Manchester United? Have you been to Old Trafford? I said, no. And he said, shame on you. He said, until you please don't tell me you're successful until you've gone to Old Trafford too. And I said, what are you talking about? How can you make that kind of equation? He said, in order for you to go to Manchester, to Old Trafford, to watch Manchester United play, you need X amount of money. Quite a lot, actually. Right? And if you have that money, if you have that spare money, then you've done well in life. And I found that it is the weirdest thing I do now with my life. When I get up in the morning, and sometimes I'm struggling to get up to go to work, like all of us, I get to my class and I have 20 people in front of me, and this visualization technique helps me. I look at all those people and I don't see Achong, Ahmad or Alim or whatever, I see 25 or 30 Wayne Rooney sitting in front of me, and immediately I'm jumping up and I'm ready to run my class. I'm all connected. The point I'm trying to make is everything is emotional.
Right.
There is nothing that we do in our lives which is unemotional. And people make this mistake. We are almost educated out of emotions. You know, if I tell you, hey Dino, you're a very emotional person, there's a negative connotation to that. Yeah, and because we that's the way we are brought up to think.
Yeah.
Don't be emotional. Don't be emotional. You know, oh, Unka ni very emo. And people will say things like that. But everything we do is emotional. I'm passionate because I'm emotional. If at the beginning, you know, when you spoke to me earlier, you said that I'm a very good speaker. The very good speaker is not something that comes from learning or something that I'm born with alone. It comes from connecting with my passion. And when I connect with my passion, I find that I speak well. I find that I present well. I find that I have a better stage presence. And at first I thought, oh, it's like an acting thing. And I'm able to act really well when I'm on stage, or when I'm in front, or when I'm standing in front of a class of whether it's 30 participants or 200 participants. And then I realized that it's nothing to do with acting. It is to do with actually believing every word I say.
That you say. Yeah, I completely agree. So, you know, one can only ask you, what next?
What is important is augmenting the work that I do right now, which is actually coming up with innovative ideas. I'm very passionate about being Malaysian. You know, I have a partner who is European, and that gives me some options in terms of where I live. But I have for a long time decided that I would like to live in Malaysia. I'd like to live in Malaysia because this is my home and this is my country. I would like to spend a lot of time working with people in the services industry in Malaysia, to make Malaysia a bit more, to make the people who work in Malaysia a bit more connected to the jobs that they do. We need better people serving us in restaurants. We need better people serving us in the government services.
I hear you, brother.
We need much better people running the country. And that doesn't come with government and so on alone. That also comes with connecting with your passion. That also comes with all of us saying that, hey, we're proud to be Malaysian and I want to showcase. And the showcase is not just the makan that we showcase and all the beautiful places, but showcase our talent as people. And if you ask me where the future is, that's where the future is for me, to continue the work that I do, to increase my capacity, my outreach, to reach more Malaysians, and to build emotional intelligence and EQ.
Well, for the
people.
First time, you know, normally I'll end the interview with saying, you know, we look forward to seeing more of you, and we wish you the very best of success. I definitely am wishing you the very best of success, because if you achieve what you've just said, that means it's success for all of us.
That's right.
Shankar, thank you so much for your time. It's a pleasure, and thank you so much for having us in your beautiful home. You've been with me, Syed Fardino Omar, and if you notice, this is the first episode again. This is an episode of first. This is the first episode again where I didn't have to say much, because the man himself speaks so well and so captivatingly. I bet you were enthralled. You've been watching in person. You've been listening to Shankar Santhiram of EQ Training and Development, and we hope to see you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.